These lights, how can they be so small? Let's take a look at the LumeCube. With NAB going on just a couple of weeks ago, I saw some really interesting things coming out of it, but one of them that really caught my attention was the LumeCube. So I reached out to the company, asked them if they'd be willing to send me a couple to check out, and lo and behold, they have arrived. Now the LumeCube, in case you are not familiar with it, because you probably are not, it's a teeny tiny little LED light about the size of a GoPro. It's powered over micro USB, it puts out a lot of light, and you can connect to it using your smartphone. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and open one of these up and see what comes in it. So first up, you get a quick start guide, cool little sticker of their logo, a warning about the LED producing heat, and there's the LumeCube. And down in the very bottom of the box underneath the foam is a micro USB cable you can use to charge it with. Now in talking with the company, they did say that this is not the final packaging for it. This is not the full retail packaging or anything, but really this doesn't look half bad. I've definitely seen worse. But once they do have the final retail packaging, it's definitely going to look a little bit more professional. But there is the LumeCube. I kind of figured this was going to be an all plastic case, but no, that's solid, that's metal. It's actually cold to the touch. You got the LED with a sensor here in the front, so you can actually use it as an off-camera flash. That sensor will detect another flash and go off if you set it up right. On the bottom you have a tripod mount. On the sides there's nothing. On the back there's a flathead screw, which once you open it up, gives you access to the micro USB charging port. And that's one thing I have forgotten to mention about this. In addition to being a very nice tiny little compact light, it's also waterproof. Just so long as you keep this little charging port covered in the back anytime you're doing anything water related. So for the time being, I'm just going to cover that right back up. And then on the top, the last face of it, you have two buttons and your logo. But taking a quick look at the specs from the manual, you've got a 1500 lumen LED, a color temperature of 6000 Kelvin roughly, a runtime of about 20 minutes if you put it in its most strong power mode, but if you're using it off and on, using it at different brightness levels, up to 2 hours, charges up in just 90 minutes, and like I said, waterproof up to 100 feet. And here's some of the modes you can use it in. You can use it as an off-camera flash, you can use it as a full source video light, as an optical slave, that's what I was saying, this little sensor on the front, and a red eye reduction light. And then as far as the controls, the left button turns on the video mode and cycles through the 10 different brightness settings. You can press the right button to enable Bluetooth, or you can hold it for 3 seconds to turn on the optical sensor. That's the off-camera flash that I was mentioning. And from what I understand, you can also use this while it's charging, which means that technically you could have a very bright little video light with a teeny tiny little footprint that you just keep plugged in over a USB plug, which is ridiculous. So let's go ahead and put it in video mode, turn it on, and we'll see what the light looks like. Now, unfortunately, my overhead camera is set so that it's just gonna blow it out as soon as I start turning lights on. So we'll just aim it at my face as we do it. But still, when you press the button once, it goes into this very lowest mode. There you go, I've got it shining in my face. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we're on the surface of the sun. Oh buddy, that's bright. And actually, just as a little spot, just using it as like a flashlight, it does a pretty decent job. And especially when you take it all the way up to the brightest settings. There's 10, and just holding it in my hand as a 10, that's really, really bright. And then to turn it back off, you just hit the right hand button, turns the light back off. And when you press the right button, it does a flash, you can see that. And when we hold it, it puts it into optical mode. Not gonna test that out right at the moment, I'm primarily a video guy. But the next big thing to test here is Bluetooth. As you can see in the Google Play Store, there's a LumeCube app as well as a LumeCube Pro app. The company mentioned that you should probably use the Pro app. There's just more features in it. But the biggest thing they said you needed it for is if you want to control more than 2 of these LumeCubes. And I've got 2 of them here. So we'll start out here on Android with the LumeCube app. And I think they said they were actually going to send me along a code to take a look at the Pro app. That may just become a separate video. But here is the LumeCube app. Wants access to the location and media and photos and videos. Wants to be able to take and record video and audio. Because as I forgot to mention, like I said, this can be used as a flash. You can actually use it as a flash for your phone. Now this is one sort of interesting piece of it. You do have to register the LumeCube whenever you first open up the app. So you have to put in the serial number and your email address. And in case you have trouble finding it like I did, there's actually a registration page inside of the little user manual. There's a code under my finger, which I probably showed earlier, but I have gone through the registration. It says registration successful, enjoy your new LumeCube. And actually I just pushed the flash button over here and the blue light lit up, the flash button seems to be working. So in theory, pointing this all at myself, I ought to be able to trigger it as a flash. And it definitely did flash there. So it's actually being used as a flash for my phone at the moment. And you can use it as a video light for the phone and it'll just stay on the entire time, which is really, really bright. And if you want to control the settings for it, you just tap on this little blue icon here, the little lightning bolt, and it says brightness, red eye, and battery level. Looks like the battery level is about 3/4 full right now. And I can turn the light down or up as I see fit. Set it from auto sync to red eye. So you get a couple of controls in there. Alright, quite a little while later, and I got in touch with the company, I got in touch with LumeCube, and they went ahead and sent me out the code to pick up the Pro app. I thought I'd quickly show you some of the differences here. You'll see we do still have that little lightning bolt that we can make the connection with, just let you know how many of these you're connected to at one time. But now we also have a Pro button, so if I go ahead and hit that button, you can see there's up to 5 LumeCubes now instead of 2, and you get individual fine-grained controls over each one of them. You can see I've got 2 connected right now, because as I did mention in the intro, they did send me 2, and because these 2 show up as blue, that means they're both connected. You can hit the plus button over here to expand it and do individual settings for each one. Shows you the battery level, in this case 100%, and the signal strength, the Bluetooth signal. You can change the brightness. Right now I've got it set to 50%, and again, brightness on an individual light basis. So if you've got one closer or you want one a little bit stronger, you can make it up to 75 or 100. And as you can see there, it's doing it in individual percentage points. So right now we're at 83% of 1500 lumens. You can also set the duration. So if you wanted to use it as a flash instead of as a light, you can change it from where I've got it set to always on to as little as 1/8,000th of a second, or as much as a 10 hertz strobe, so 10 times per second it'll flash. And if you are concerned about the battery life, you can always just set it to a specific, like, stay on for 15 minutes kind of thing. So very nice to have a little bit more fine-grained control there. And if you want to, you just hit the all on button, they all come on. You can again individually control the brightness of each one, however strong or dim you want it to be, and you can see it's just changing live on the fly right there. Hit all off when you want them to all go off. Very nice. I'm really a big fan of the Pro level app. And this is available for both Android and iOS. I just asked them for a code. They sent me one for Apple. And of course, the rest of the app is pretty much similar to the free app where you have pictures or video and you can just use this as your off-camera flash for this, front or rear-facing flash. I really am not intending to use it in that way. I'm probably going to be using it more as a supplemental video light. I'm actually kind of curious to see how these would compare to my LED panel lights that I'm using. I'll put a link to the playlist about those lights down below, but they're basically little 300 LED panel lights that cost about $80 a piece, and then you have to add a battery or an AC adapter. Total spent was over $100 per light. These are $80 per light, significantly smaller, run off micro USB. They're waterproof when they're not plugged in. The only downside here is if you want to control them, if you want to be able to turn them on and off, you do have to wake up the Bluetooth in them before you can do anything. But before your video shoot, you just go around, you tap the button on each one, just wakes up the Bluetooth. Then you go to your app, you hit a button, everything comes on to whatever you had it set to before. Very, very nice. And just as a little bit of a test, I've gone ahead and turned both the lights on and put them in the same place that my LED panels are. The LED panels are now turned off. They're both set to 100% brightness, and I haven't adjusted any settings in the camera. These are exactly the same as what I had before, so I'm using f1.7 on my lens, 100th of a second shutter speed, and ISO 200. And I think it's really the white balance that would make a big difference here, but it doesn't look all that bad. The lights themselves, they're very sharp, very harsh points of light, but they are being held back just a little bit by having a diffuser in front of them. So this is a little bit less harsh than it would be normally. And the cool thing about it is I could technically move those lights closer. I could put them on a stand and have them just a few feet away from me if I wanted to. But so far, I think they actually look pretty decent. I think they're doing an all right job. You've got a couple of little harsh points of light you can see in my eyes and in my glasses. That's really not that bad when you consider this lighting setup would have cost $160. And if you wanted 2 more of them, instead of paying $160, you pay a total of $300. You save 20 bucks there and you get 4 lights that are all this big and charge over micro USB. That is ridiculous. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what else I can do with these lights. This should actually be a really excellent addition to anyone's mobile filming setup. And because they are so small and so lightweight and waterproof, they're just so versatile. There's a lot of other things that can be done with these. The LumeCube guys sent me an entire bag load of different accessories for these. I'm not going to go through everything in this video and go in detail about them, but you've got a smartphone clamp here where you can actually attach a light to it, a GoPro bracket with a couple of light attachments, and the one I'm extremely excited about, drone arms, specifically for the DJI Phantom 3, but I think they would also work on the Phantom 4. So let me know if you'd like to see more info about these lights, especially the ones with regard to the Phantom 3, because I'm definitely going to be trying them out on that. But thanks so much to LumeCube for sending these out for me to take a look at. These are absolutely awesome little lights. And thanks to you guys for watching. Remember to leave a thumbs up down below if you like this video. I'll put links to where you can find these down in the description. And subscribe to receive more of my videos when they become available. We'll see you again next time.